The St. John Red Storm opened up a can of whoop ass on Big East rival Villanova by 20 points for the first time since 1998, and they beat the Wildcats for the second time this season. New York Post basketball writer Zach Braziller was at the Garden, and we have him on to talk some Johnny's basketball. Thanks for hopping on with us, Zach. I know it was a long night at the Garden last night. Let's take these folks back to Zach to school, though. Big win, big win for Pitino and the Red Storm. Give us the good, the bad, and your thoughts on the night.
Yeah, look, this was a huge game. They had lost 3 in a row. 2 of them were 1-point games. They're still in the difficult part of the schedule. They're home. They needed to win a game here. There's no question about it. Pitino talked about it. You know, he basically told the guys, look, we want to make the tournament. This is one of those games we have to win. They put a lot on this game, and they came through. You know, it wasn't a perfect game, but they played a very good first half, and they finished. You know, that's one thing this team hasn't done great is closing out games. You know, I mentioned the 1-point loss to Marquette and Creighton, which were games they could have won. UConn, they could have won. This game, over the last 10 minutes, they outscored Villanova 28-3. They were clearly the better team. They dominated the last 10 minutes of that game. And, you know, look, this win now gives them a really good feeling going into a week off before going to Xavier next Wednesday. You know, Joel Soriano kind of got back to who he is, really refound his game. So, you know, to me, it was a lot of really good stuff last night for St. John's.
Yeah, I got to go back to what you said about those 1-point losses to number 14 Marquette, number 17 Creighton. You said that this team did the little things last night that had been missing in those 1-point losses. So, again, it's Villanova, they're not Creighton, they're not Marquette. But now, after that win, do you think that St. John's is ready to go up against the Marquettes, the UConns, the Creightons, the elite of the Big East?
Look, I mean, they were ready, you know, in those games. I mean, they really should have won the game at Creighton. They had some really good looks late that did fall, got a few really bad calls in the last minute. And then Marquette, you know, where they don't have Jordan Dingle, Naheem Aline gets hurt early, so they're down 2 of their top 3 guards, and they still only lost by 1, and really, you know, had some great shots to win that game at the end on Saturday. So yeah, look, I do think there was some overreaction from the fan base because they lost 3 in a row, you know, but I do think that this was a game that they really needed, you know, and the way they won it too was so important. Was they blew the doors off Villanova, you know, they out-rebounded them by 19. They hammered them in the paint. They got 20. They outscored them by 12 off the bench. Second chance points, they outscored them by 13. You know, those were the things they had to do, and they did. And look, I don't think St. John's is as good as the big 3 of UConn, Marquette, or Creighton, but they can beat those teams. We've seen it. They played them. They played all 3 of them really tight, and Creighton and UConn was on the road. So now they're going to get Creighton and UConn here at the Garden coming up in the next few weeks, and, you know, they take their swing.
You say it was a game that St. John's really needed. Coach Pitino said it was a game that St. John's desperately needed before a week off. What's next for these guys? 11 games left in the regular season. Do you feel like this was the game, or you're getting that feeling that this team is ready to go on a run?
Yeah, look, the back end of the schedule was always going to be soft. The next stretch is still difficult. They go to Xavier, then UConn comes to town. They still have trips to Marquette and Providence. You know, I've always felt that if they can get through the first 14 or so league games at 500 or a game above, they're going to be in great shape because they get close out with, you know, a ton of games against DePaul and, you know, and Butler and Georgetown. But look, this was a win I felt could be a turning point, because they were, you know, kind of in a mini skid, and they go to Xavier now, who they already beat handily. Now, winning at Xavier will not be easy. There's no question about that. But they did manhandle Xavier already. They have a big advantage, you know, inside with Soriano and Ledlum and Ejiofor. Xavier's not very good. You know, their front court, you know, has issues. So it's a game I think they could win. And then, look, February 3rd, UConn, #1 team in the country at the Garden. I that's going to be fantastic. Let's just say that. That's going to be one of those games you just want to be in the building for. I think it's going to be a sellout. Going to be a ton of UConn fans there, obviously. But this St. John's fan base has stepped up. They did a good job last night. They had over 12,000 there at the Garden. They showed up for Marquette. I felt like they gave the team a real home court advantage last night, which hasn't always been the case at the Garden. I think the fan base is definitely starting to get energized because, look, this is a team that's going to make the tournament. I'm very confident in that. They're getting healthier. Naheem Aline's going to be back for Xavier. Dingle's back from COVID. If Soriano has now kind of found his game again, that's huge. And I think this team could really, have a big February.
It's funny how you say the fan base is showing up. You deserve 20% of all ticket sales because you politely called them out in an article a couple weeks ago about the fan base not showing up. But they're out there now, so it's again, Red Storm fever around the city. You said that they're going to go dancing, so I'm gonna take you up on that one. We're really going to keep an eye on this team. What's that?
No, I mean, it's fun. It really is. Pitino has changed so much, and it's been a fun team to follow. Very likable guys, and we'll see what happens here. But I do think this is a team that you're going to look at and be like a 6 to 8 seed, and have a shot to win a game or two.
But let me ask you a question though. With the turnaround that we've seen Pitino have with this team, is it big dance or bust? If they don't make it to March Madness tournament, is it a waste of year or a bad year for Rick Pitino?
I think, look, he's coming here to build something. It's his last stop. He wants to make this a legit winner. He wants to win a national championship. I mean, that's who he is. Look, when you're in late January, and you're projected to be a 7 or 8 seed, you got to make the tournament. There's no question about that. He expects to make the tournament. I think he would admit, he would definitely say, like, if we don't make the tournament, it's a failure. And I fully expect them to make it. I mean, for where they are now, they would really, to me, have to, collapse not to make it. And I really think that they got kind of through their rough patch. I know it's only one win, but I think they got through their rough patch. They had a lot going wrong there with Pitino missing a game with COVID and having guys out and all that stuff. And look, they're getting healthy. They'll be at full strength for Xavier. They get a full week of practice. I like their chances to beat Xavier. And I just can't say enough. That game against UConn at the Garden is going to be, it's going to be one of those electric atmospheres. You should be there. I would say that fans should go, and I think Brandon London should go because that's going to be one of those. That's going to be a fun one.
All right, buy me a beer, I'll be there. Zach Baziller, thanks for joining us, man.
All right, man.